Thanks for joining our History Makers Leadership Podcast. I'm Shannon Jackson, the Church Partnership Coordinator here at the International Leadership Institute. And today we will be discussing church partnerships with missions or paramission organizations. And joining me is Dan Slagle. Dan, prior to his time here at ILI, was a ministry pastor for over 30 years. 15 of those years was as a mission pastor, and now he works with us as the international director for our Southeast region. Dan, we're so happy to have you here. If you want to share a little bit about yourself and how you got to this seat.
Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, I was a missions pastor for 15 years. That was how I became acquainted with ILI. Our church, Faith Bridge, partnered on many trips and opportunities with ILI, and so it was a natural step for me to join the staff here, and really enjoying my time working in South Asia and looking forward to what God has in store in that part of the world.
Yes, and I know we're very happy to have you part of that with us. So, just to kind of start things off with everybody, why would a church want to partner with a missions ministry or really any ministry for that fact? Where's the benefit in that?
Sure. So the simple answer is to expand their reach. The average size of a local church in the United States is somewhere between 150 and 200 members. Many of those churches are doing well just to do church,
Hmm.
to provide a place of worship and discipleship in their local community.
Right.
And it's unrealistic to expect that any local church, large or small, is going to be able to do everything that needs to be done in order to reach the world for Christ.
Right.
And there's no point in reinventing the wheel when other agencies, parachurch organizations, mission groups, if they're doing something effectively, doing something very well, it only makes sense for a local church to come alongside that organization if that's where they feel like God is leading them to join up, join
Hmm.
forces, and multiply the effectiveness, multiply the ability to reach.
Yeah, I really appreciate that working together and how important that is. Recently, at the office, someone shared a statistic with us that if your church was ministering in your community, saving 100 people a day, you would probably be a pretty popular church because of that and because of the results of that. But it would still take 81,000 years for that one church to reach all the lost people in the world.
Mm.
So it's critical that we find a way to work together. And I think you're right. Partnering with other organizations helps us do that more effectively and saves time and allows us to invest our time in other places. So we've kind of set the stage where it's important to have these relationships. What are some prerequisites that you think a ministry should have before a church would consider partnering with them?
So, a local church, before they step into a partnership with anyone, needs to have a clear self understanding.
Mm,
They need to have taken time to think about who are we? What has God called us to do in this place and in this time?
right.
What are some of our core values? What are some of the things that God really wants us to focus on
Hmm.
uh, with the people that we have here, with the resources that we have here, which are unique to our church? And then begin to look around for partnerships that are congruent with the giftings and the resources and the people that you have in the church.
Yeah.
You're never going to find one that is perfectly aligned, of course, but if you're going to expand your reach and you're going to multiply your ministry in terms of the priorities that you have, it just makes sense to look around for mission agencies that are moving in the same direction.
Right. That sounds so simple and so easy. And so I think a good first step would be just to restate what Dan said, knowing who you are as a church. Like really evaluating that, not being afraid of who you are, but owning that as God's vision for your church and kind of seal of what he has given you a passion for, and then finding like-minded ministries to follow that same passion.
Right. And that takes time.
Mhm.
That's not something you meet on a Saturday morning for an hour or two
Right.
and discuss.
Right.
It really requires some focused effort on the part of both the leadership and the lay leadership to come together and to pray and begin to discern these things.
Yeah, that's really good. And I could see where being aligned in your vision as a pastor for that ministry with the lay leaders and coming together and knowing what that vision is, and then joining with like-minded ministries, I can see where that's a good first step and can help with longevity within the ministry. But how would you, or how do you prepare to partner with ministries for a long haul where it's not just a quick 1 year investment, but to see sustained results over a long period of time? What are some things that people watching could consider?
So, the first thing I would say is a church needs to do its homework as it looks at various mission agencies and parachurch ministries. What is their track record?
Mm,
Do they show signs of longevity? What has been their effectiveness? What's been their success rate
right.
in their stated mission?
Mhm.
So that you come into the relationship with a sense of confidence that, okay, this isn't a flash in the pan sort
Right.
of ministry. It's got a proven track record,
Right.
and we believe that we can contribute. I think another thing that's necessary is as the partnership is being developed, both sides have the same expectations about what is to be gained from this relationship.
Right.
Nothing kills any kind of relationship, whether you're talking marriages or church mission partnerships, like unrealistic expectations. And
True.
so, if both of you are on the same page and you are both understanding this is what we want to accomplish together, that is going to do as much as anything to keep the relationship moving forward for a considerable period of time.
True. Very insightful. Thank you for that. Um, I have a question kind of geared towards more someone who's just starting out and they feel a passion for a specific ministry
Hmm.
and they need pastors to buy into their vision. What
Hmm.
are some things they could consider when they're presenting their ministry? If it's a startup missions or startup ministry, but they know God's given them a passion and a vision to do that, what are some things that you've seen have been successful for those startup ministries in communicating with churches?
Sure. So um, there is no substitute for face to face conversations.
Yeah.
When I was a missions pastor, I got tons of mail and email
Mm,
from mission agencies inviting me to come
right.
participate. Uh, the ones that I typically responded to, though, were those that, as I said, were aligned with what we were trying to accomplish at Faith Bridge,
Right.
but also those that I could have real conversation with that demonstrated an interest in us, a willingness to come and find out who we were, to tell us about who they are.
Hmm.
Information is going to be your best friend.
Right.
Yeah. The more information that you can provide, the more specific and clear information you can provide for a local church, for a pastor or a missions pastor or missions committee, the greater your chances of success. A lack of clarity is going to be your biggest enemy.
Right.
And so when you think about your presentation or
Hmm.
your opportunity to meet, you need to have done your homework so that when you go in there, not only are you able to talk about this is what we have to offer, but you've done some homework about that local church.
Right.
You've found out, oh, this is what's important to them.
Mm.
This is how they're impacting the community. This is how we could meet a need that they have.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's good. I really appreciate that. I know, like here at the International Leadership Institute, for me, one of the things I'm most passionate about is coming alongside a church learning what their vision is and then running with them to help fulfill that vision.
Right.
Sometimes we're not the best person for them to partner with in that
Yeah,
season.
absolutely.
And then sometimes we are, but it's about aligning our visions for the greater growth of God's kingdom in those
Absolutely.
areas.
Yeah.
So now we've landed at a place where a missions organization has presented to a church and they've agreed they want to enter into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What are some responsibilities for the church and what are some responsibilities for the missions organization to help communicate clearly to each other how it's being successful and what the results of that are?
Right. Well, as I mentioned, the church needs to be upfront about this is what we're hoping to gain from this relationship. These are the expectations that we have of you as an
Right.
organization. On the mission side of things, the biggest responsibility is to communicate, communicate, communicate.
Mm-hmm.
The mission organizations that took the time to tell me this is what's getting done. This is how we are stewarding your dollars. This is how we are stewarding the people that come on trips with us. That was music to my ears.
Right.
To be able to then turn around to my congregation and say, this is what we're accomplishing.
Right.
This is what God is doing as a result of your generosity, as a result of your willingness to go. The more that I could tell my congregation about a given relationship, the more likely that relationship was to continue.
Oh, that's great. I know that you came from a rather busy, large congregation. So, from the missions perspective, we want to be able to communicate to busy pastors like yourself.
Right.
So, what is the best way to communicate that you have found from other ministries?
Use every means of communication that you can.
Okay.
And I would definitely vary it because, I didn't want to have to be answering a phone call every day or
Right.
every week
Right.
but an email,
Mm-hmm.
sure, a text even, and then periodic phone calls, or once every 6 months, you stop by and
Right.
say, hey, let's go have lunch or let's talk or meet or coffee or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we live in a day and age when the means of communication are practically endless.
Absolutely.
And I would advise a mission agency to take advantage of all of those.
Okay.
The last thing you want to do is think that a mailer, a
Mm-hmm.
broad mailer, is
Mhm.
going to take care of it.
Right.
Because I would get stacks of mail 2-3 inches thick.
Mm-hmm.
And unless it was addressed specifically to me in a typed or handwritten envelope where I knew, okay, this is for me,
Right.
more often than not, it went in the trash.
Right.
I wasn't going to waste my time to read it. So that personalized sort of communication, I think, is the most helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Recently, I watched another podcast, and one of the guys on there was saying that a handwritten card will go further than most dollars.
Any day.
Mm-hmm.
Any day. I write notes every week
Wow.
to my supporters,
Mm-hmm.
to the churches that I have worked with in South Asia, because people are going to open those.
Right. Right.
Everybody likes to get mail,
Yeah.
real mail,
Yeah.
because there's so much junk mail
Mm-hmm.
out there as it is. So yeah, let that be your best friend and make good use of it.
Right. That's so good. So if you're watching this, I would say this session right here is really encouraging you to write that handwritten note. If there's someone you're considering, someone that encourages you, someone that's encouraged you in the past, or a church that you'd like to partner with, or a ministry you'd like to partner with, a handwritten card goes so far. And I have not a bad question, but just another thought to help. Maybe there's some leaders out here who are in a partnership with an organization that started exactly as we're saying. The participants, they agreed, the organizations agreed on the results, the path they wanted to go, but then maybe things feel a little off. What are some prerequisite things that happen that may show there's going to need to be an end to that
Hmm.
relationship?
Well, a lack of participation
Mm,
is going to be one big clue
right.
that things aren't running as smoothly as they should. Certainly, a lack of financial support,
Hmm.
uh, intermittent communication, where you just begin to sense, hey, we're not as connected as we
Right.
used to be, and that's not always bad. You know, some relationships run their course. Uh, Leadership changes at churches all the time,
Right.
and partnerships generally run along relational lines.
Absolutely.
And when a brand new pastor, brand new missions pastor, committee leader, whatever comes in, they may have a whole new set of priorities that they
Hmm.
want to pursue.
Right.
That's okay. That's nothing to worry about. That doesn't mean you've got to pull yourself out of the game right away.
Hmm.
Take the time to find out, are there still opportunities
Right.
for us to partner? And if there's not, then hey, thank you for the time that we had, for the years that we had, the things that we accomplished together,
Hmm.
and then look for the next partner.
So that would be so tough to end a relationship. And I'm sure it doesn't happen often, but there are times when that does happen and success either wasn't clearly defined or
Hmm.
the realities of those goals they weren't met and so that relationship dissolves. What are some ways to determine success? If we're measuring our partnership, then how do we determine what is success in those relationships?
So, the first step, of course, is developing expectations together,
Hmm.
sitting down at the beginning of the relationship and defining success.
Right.
In the coming year, we want to accomplish X.
Hmm.
We want to see this happen
Hmm.
over the next year or two, or what have you. We want to see the dollars used in this way.
Right.
We want so many members of our church to participate hands on,
Hmm.
those kinds of things,
Right.
real measurable sorts of things. Y- Again, lack of clarity is always going to be your worst enemy. If you have defined right up front, these are the measurables,
Hmm.
then when it comes time to evaluate, it's right there in black and white. You
Right.
you can see, yeah, we hit our goals. We
Right.
we did what we said we would do. Or if there wasn't success, you can then either sit down again,
Mhm,
try to figure out what went wrong.
mhm,
Maybe there were some shortcomings on the side of the church, maybe some shortcomings on the side of the mission agency. Or, of course, it may reach a point where we just feel like, you know what, this wasn't the best match.
right.
Let's both just move in a different direction. God bless you.
Mhm,
No harm, no foul.
right.
We'll just move on and find better partners.
Yeah. Have you seen success? And if you have, how was that success um, fostered within a church of your size? I'm sure there's ministries you partnered with that didn't have like a member of the church advocating for that ministry. So for another ministry who's partnering with you that doesn't have an advocate within your church, how do they find success and communicate clearly to the congregation those goals and those realities of the vision coming together?
Well, when I was a missions pastor, I did not partner with a mission agency unless there was an individual in our church to lead that charge.
Wow.
I was not going to make myself responsible for every single, because we had 30, 40 partnerships, both
Wow.
locally and overseas.
Mhm.
And I did not see it as the most efficient use of my time
Mhm.
to try to maintain and keep up with all those
Right.
relationships. And so I would make sure that a faith bridger was connected to and attached, and they would be the spokesperson, they would be the advocate for that. And I really gave them that responsibility. It
Right.
wasn't just in name only.
Mhm.
If, squeaky wheel gets the grease,
Mhm.
and those that were coming to me and saying, wow,
Mhm.
look what is happening here,
Mhm.
that was going to get my attention,
Right.
which more than likely meant that was going to get my time and probably more resources from FaithBridge.
Absolutely.
So if I were a mission agency,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to be sure there was some person that I could relate to
Right.
and keep informed,
Right.
because particularly in your larger churches, there's just no way one individual can keep up with all of it.
For those of you watching this and you may have a ministry or you're getting ready to launch a ministry, it would be important for you to realize having that champion within a local body to champion your cause and to advocate for you is really beneficial to the passion and the vision that God has given you. You can run your ministry, and the missions pastors are running their ministries, but together having someone having that communication between the two is really essential.
Yep.
And so that would be even a good prayer point for them to
Sure.
ask God to open that door and show them a person of peace, so to speak, within that church that could be the advocate for their ministry. So I really appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
incredible advice. Dan, thank you so much for all the wisdom that you have already shared. I'm so excited to continue this conversation, and we would love for you to join us as we continue talking on the next episode, part 2 of this podcast on church ministries partnering with missions and para organizations.